come into the Gulf of Mexico and try to find the mouth of the Mississippi. They'd been down the river from Canada. They knew it was here, but they didn't know where the river popped out at, so they didn't know which way to go to get to France to claim the river. The day they realized where they were, the day they planted their flag on the Mississippi, was Tuesday, March 3rd, 1699. Shrove Tuesday in the Catholic calendar. Does anyone know what Shrove Tuesday is? Anyone Catholic? Nobody? All right, day before Ash Wednesday, also known as
Mardi Gras.
Fat Tuesday.
Fat Tuesday.
There's the party boys. Yeah. Wasn't a party for these guys. They're in the middle of a damn swamp. Alligators, mosquitoes, snakes. No women on board the ship. I know. But it took them about 20 years before they set up the city of New Orleans. Mobile, Alabama is older than we are. They had spent that time exploring the region, looking for just the right spot to set up a port city. This was the right spot. The French Quarter was a high and dry patch of land that was between the river and the swamp. The French Quarter is above sea level and did not flood during Katrina. So in 1718, it laid out the grid for what is now the French Quarter and named the city Nouvelle Orleans. New Orleans for the Duke of Orleans. The Duke was the regent of France at the time. What happened was Louis XIV, the king, he died. Next in line to the throne, the great-grandson, Louis XV, that's a 5-year-old child. He's not old enough to run a country yet. Actually, not until he's 13. Mistake number 2. Mistake number 1 was putting little Louis's uncle in charge of France temporarily, because the Duke was a bit of a party boy. Now, does anyone know any French? Nouvelle and nouveau both mean new. One is masculine, one is feminine. And nouvelle is the feminine term. But they named the city Nouvelle Orleans in the feminine for the Duke, who's a dude. They're making fun of him. The Duke was a known cross-dresser. On any given day, the royal French court didn't know if the Duke was going to show up or if the Duchess was going to show up. Yeah, I know, a guy putting on a dress in New Orleans. This never happens. Have you seen this? Yet. We're setting a precedent here, y'all. But he's got to populate the colony. And it's a swamp. It's a wilderness outpost. No one wants to be here. We are men of means in France. We have skills. We are paying taxes. They're not letting us leave the country. Oh, I didn't mention women because y'all just didn't have rights yet. Yay, good old days. I'm kidding. But what they had to do was empty the prisons. So they took the women out of the women's prison, lined the ladies up single file on the docks, took us men from the Bastille, lined us up next to the women. You are introducing yourself to that stranger next to you. You look down, and you're being chained to that person at the ankles, and then you look up, and a priest is marrying you. You are put on that ship and sent to the New World, New Orleans, Louisiana. Yeah. We were populated by thieves and prostitutes, y'all. Go to Bourbon Street. Not a damn thing has changed. We were named for a cross-dresser. Welcome. We've been the same since day one. Nepotism, cronyism, and corruption. It's in our DNA. Yeah. And people go with Jeffrey. I'm from New York. Chicago. I know what corruption is. I'm just going to ask you this. When was the last time your sewage and water board department was raided by the FBI? A year and a half ago. In the FBI raid, they discovered a secret sex room. I'm not joking. Google it. Fact check me. Our mayor has been having an affair with one of her bodyguards in the taxpayer-funded apartment in Jackson Square, because why hide it? I can't make this up. French never made a profit from the colony. Tobacco and indigo don't work. War debt, 1763. The French gave it to the Spanish. The French did not tell the Spanish that it was worthless swamplands. The Spanish can't make a profit. 1799, in another war debt. They just gave it back to the French. But the French don't want it. Napoleon's in charge. He sells it to us. Louisiana Purchase, 1803. $15 million. Great deal. But here's the problem. The United States government only had $10 million in the treasury. So what do? You raise a debt ceiling and borrow money. Seen the news, right? And it all begins. Here's the fun part. We borrowed $5 million from the Bank of England. We took all that money and gave it to Napoleon, who used it to buy guns and ammunition and went to war against the English. The English had financed the war against themselves, which is why they kicked our butts in the War of 1812. But the Americans arrived and settled upriver. The city of New Orleans was Canal Street and everything downriver. The Americans bought a plantation, Labadas, cut it up into a city, named it Lafayette, and that is what's now St. Charles Avenue, Magazine Street, Garden District area. The two cities met at Canal Street and became one. That's the American side, French and Spanish Creole. We're exploring the French and Spanish Creole side today is what we're doing. All right? And we do have some pretty houses we are going to look at. Got it? Okay. Any questions on Esplanade in a minute? Then we made the right-hand turn right here. We are now outside the French Quarter. This is the Marigny neighborhood, the G Island. And these two blocks, this is Frenchman. This is the antithesis to Bourbon Street. There are no strip clubs. There are no bean shops or t-shirt shops. You're not going to hear any top 40, okay? No Maroon 5, no Nickelback. Yeah.
Who are they?
No Kansas.
Who are they?
Oh, you can give it back. It's okay. If I'm not having fun, I'm not getting out of bed, okay? Seriously. But yeah, this is the real New Orleans. There is no one club that is better than the other. Whatever atmosphere grabs you, whatever musician grabs you, that's the one you go into. Because one night the band's here, 3 nights later the same band's across the street. Maybe half of this band is in a different band the next night. Or the same night. They're just all bouncing around. Okay? Ladies, you can come here on a girls' weekend and spend the entire evening on Frenchman and not have to worry about the Bourbon Street beads and boobies mentality. Okay? I've honestly been bringing my daughter down here since she was 10. She is now 23 and she plays guitar and keyboards, studying music theory. She's going to be fine. She has no idea who her uncles are. So, yeah. Like Uncle Coco is just Uncle Coco. Uncle Coco toured with the Stones. She's clueless. It's Uncle Coco. But also keep your eyes open. This is an internationally known music destination. Whenever famous musicians are in town, they come down here to check out the local scene and try and climb on stage with a local New Orleans band. That's kind of a rite of passage for famous musicians. We have had, when they were still together, a little band called REM climbed on stage with the Spotted Cat. Stage is in the front window. You are literally standing on the sidewalk with your cocktail looking at Michael Stipe's butt. All right? Drake the rapper filmed a video in front of the hot dog shop. Y'all know John Baptiste, our 5-time Grammy winner? Oh, look him up. Yeah. Used to work the sidewalk with a tip bucket when he was 15 years old. A year and a half ago, Harry Connick Jr. walked into the courtyard of the hotel, sat down and played for free for half an hour. Members of the New Orleans Marsalis and Neville music families perform at Snug Harbor on a regular basis. Do y'all know who Tom Jones is?
It's not unusual.
Go ask your mom. Tom Jones can sell out Vegas for weeks, if not months on end. One evening, he climbed on stage at the Appleboro Bar. It was my buddy Sam on stand-up bass. That bar has 8 bar stools and 2 tables. It is at capacity of 22 people. He climbed on stage and played for an hour and a half. He was just having fun. About 2 years ago, Christina Aguilera, hanging out at the DBA, tried to climb on stage with the band. The band denied her, and they knew who she was. Who is the next Grammy winner or nominee that is out here this week? We don't know yet. We have actual Grammy winners and nominees that will perform on the street for a $5 or $10 cover charge. You can't beat that. Alleyway with local artists on the weekends, musicians on the sidewalks. On the weekdays, it is still going 7 nights a week. Weekdays, it's a lot quieter, so you can come down and actually get a table and enjoy yourself. It does get busy like Bourbon Street, but it's a completely different vibe. Got it?
Henry Connick Jr., he was in the float the night before Mardi Gras that evening. I wonder if he came down here. He might have come down here.
That's his parade.
Okay.
I think it's the Orpheus, Harry Connick Jr.
Yeah, that was it.
And Harry Connick Jr.'s dad, Harry Connick Sr., was our district attorney for 3 decades. And I have seen Harry Connick Sr. playing the piano in little piano bars around the city. Just amazing. So, Frenchman Street. And it's just these 2 blocks. Ask anybody in the city where Frenchman is, and they know that you mean these 2 blocks. Got it?
You're brand new here. Just walking from here, like we're at the Omni. Walking here.
Which Omni? Omni Royal Elite?
The Royal, yeah.
Oh, that building's got stories.
Yeah, I could tell. But
are you a Led Zeppelin fan?
I am.
I got a story for you towards the end of the tour.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But is the walking safe, early evening?
Yeah, early evening you can safely walk down here. If you're staying near Canal Street, you can take the Riverfront streetcar, and the last stop is where we turned. But later in the evening, I would suggest taking a Lyft or an Uber or a cab or something, all right?
Okay.
We do not have mastermind criminals in New Orleans or international jewel thieves. They're just opportunists looking for somebody just being drunk. Movie in the handful of years lately filmed down here. Okay? Horror movies galore. Interview with a Vampire, American Horror Story, Nicolas Cage and Renfield. Anyone see NCIS New Orleans? Scott Bakula? No? Your Honor, Bryan Cranston?
Princess and the Frog.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. That movie is based upon a real New Orleans woman. And in that movie, there is a scene where they're in the bayous, and there's a stone arch bridge in Princess and the Frog. We're going to that actual bridge that's in the animated movie. Yeah. But yeah, when I said keep your eyes open, I mean, we are Hollywood South. Up until the strike happened, we would have 12 to 15 productions on any given week in this city. All you have to do is go into the French Quarter and throw dirt on the streets, take down some street signs, and you're instantly in the 1830s. Go watch NCIS New Orleans with Scott Bakula, the True Tone Bar. This is the True Tone Bar in the TV show. Yeah. Bryan Cranston and Your Honor. They're right now filming Mayfair Witches for Anne Rice again. Anyone a fan of Spinal Tap, the movie Spinal Tap?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. They're filming Spinal Tap 2. And they're filming in New Orleans. Guess who gets to be in a concert scene in 3 weeks?
Excellent.
While the band is on stage playing. And I get paid and they feed me. Oh, it is. I do it for fun. It's just, so, yeah. But keep your eyes open. And it all began because of HBO. They did a series called Treme. Anyone heard of it? Treme. Have you seen it or heard of it? All right, at least go watch the first season. It's a docudrama about life in New Orleans after Katrina. And all the main characters and the storylines are based upon real people and their actual experience. Well, HBO, wanting to kickstart our tourism economy, whenever a Hollywood production takes over a business, they'll turn it into a fictitious business for the show. Like this is the True Tone and NCIS. HBO didn't do that. So the main character, played by the actor Steve Zahn, his character is actually going to Frenchman Street to the Spotted Cat. And they're filming at the Spotted Cat on Frenchman. And every business in that series is an actual New Orleans business. And Frenchman Street went from being a sleepy, sketchy little area to this international destination in a year. It just took off. So keep your eyes open. You just never know who or what you're going to run into. Right now we have the actress Alexandra Daddario running around town. Anyone know who she is? If you saw her, you'd probably recognize her. I don't know the names until I got to put it all together, but
She's from the Percy Jackson movies.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah. Because they're filming the witches from the Anne Rice books at the moment. So keep your eyes open. But right now, we are hitting Esplanade Avenue, the light. As things shift, it happens. But I love the life in New Orleans. grew up on a cul-de-sac in Florida. Architecture's a square. You got 3 colors you can pick from. It's dull. This is fun. And there is no one architectural style in New Orleans that is New Orleans. With everything else, we cherry pick what we like and we just stick it all together. Our music, our food, our architecture, our cultures. Yeah. So we're on Esplanade Avenue. What this is the Grand Avenue for the French and Spanish Creoles. 1700s, the French and the Spanish were not profitable. Okay? Tobacco and indigo just don't work down here. But when the Americans arrived, everything changed rapidly. They brought capital with them. That kick-started our economy. The Americans are now growing rice and sugarcane and cotton. Technology is changing. Granulation of sugar, paddle wheels, and all the enslaved labor, and you now have the wealthiest city in the United States of America. But it's the Americans that have the bulk of the wealth. They settled upriver, and they set up St. Charles Avenue. Who's been down St. Charles? That's the streetcar.
Yeah.
Those properties start at 3 to 5 million and go up. It is just grandiose. So as the French and the Spanish were rising financially, they needed to have their own big Grand Avenue to keep up with the Joneses. That's what this is. It is not as big and grand as St. Charles, obviously. But in my opinion, it is just as beautiful in its own right. And it's the variety of the architecture. No two are alike. Anyone an architecture buff? Anyone study architecture? We just like to look at pretty houses? That's how I started. Now the pink one across the street, that is Greek Revival. First several decades of the 1800s, that was the popular architectural style. You want to show off your wealth. Everything's square in nature. You've got the Greek fluted columns. How do you show off your wealth? Put a whole bunch of columns in front of your house. Yeah. There is one house in the Garden District that has 43 columns surrounding the house. 42 is just not enough. You gotta let the neighbors know. Yeah. So as we ride up Esplanade, you're gonna see all kinds of different architectural styles from all over the place. It's fun, it's whimsical, it's ornamental, it's colorful, and I love that. Just, come on, it's happy. Yeah. Any questions so far? There's a lot going on there, isn't there? Yeah. All right, let me explain this. And no, you do not want to have to deal with the yearly maintenance on that property.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I ain't
lot of
doing
things.
that.
It's a full-time job.
Yes, it is. Yeah. The people who own the property have cut it up into apartments, so they make a nice little, a little living off of it. But that is a Queen Anne Victorian style house. All right, what happened was, the latter half of the 1800s, architectural styles are changing. They're coming more fun, more whimsical, more ornamental. Everybody is starting to get sick and tired of that same old squared off Greek Revival. And at this point, everybody's getting so flush with cash, they're getting silly. And now the last several decades of the 1800s is the Queen Anne Victorian time period. So that's what that is. Queen Anne Victorian, asymmetrical with the turret on one side. But there's a lot more going on there. So let's break it down. First of all, you have that front porch and those columns. That would be a Greek Revival architectural influence. But the columns are turn columns, they're a lot more decorative. The arches above every door and window, that is an Italianate architectural element. But then you have all of that wooden trim, what people call gingerbread. The edgings, the spindles, the squares, the cutout designs in the roof area. All of that is called East Lake Trim. This is a decorative company. It is still in business to this day. And you can just go through the catalog and order brackets and doodads and ornamental items and slap them onto your house and spruce things up. And they bought out the entire damn catalog. Let's put a big giant gable coming out over that front door. That round stained glass window in the gable is another way of showing off your wealth. You got to put a couple of lions at the top of the stairs, you know, for good measure. Dual row of fleur-de-lis along the entire damn fence. Yeah. All right. Could y'all imagine being the guy next door when this was being built? And every day you're sitting there looking over going, really, Steve, you're going to do this to me? But in New Orleans, we mix everything. Who has been to England? England? Yep. Next door is an English Tudor style house. But what is wrong with it architecturally?
Well, I said the last time it has an American flag in front of it. And yeah.
But that's not it.
Yeah.
Anyone notice? The first floor columns and the gables above the columns. Those are Greek. They don't go together. I had an actual English architect on my tour, and I pointed at the house, and he looked over and goes, we don't do that. But we do in New Orleans. And that's the beauty. That's the individuality. No two are exactly alike. And this neighborhood is gorgeous, y'all. This is New Orleans. We come up here on regular single-speed beach cruiser bikes. We make people pedal. Yeah. It's an easy ride from the French Quarter. We got the bike lanes, gorgeous neighborhood. The coffee shop across the street is not a Starbucks. Welcome to New Orleans.